Hey guys, I'm Justin, and I'm sitting here with Simon on Rift's development team. Rift, Simon, what is your exact title, or what is your role on the Rift development team?
I am what's called a development director, so the design team report to me, and I sort of like make sure that they stay on track and get stuff done. However, I also get the privilege of actually putting a lot of stuff into the game as well. I've always loved that aspect of my job, so I get to make stuff and work alongside an amazing group of people.
And Rift, certainly not a new MMO, but there's a lot of big, new, exciting content coming. And the first one here is the Starfall expansion.
Starfall Prophecy, yes. This is our second big expansion, actually third big expansion. But we've always had an extremely fast pace of putting new content into the game. So even between expansions, we've added new zones and things like that. So over the, I guess, 6 years now that Rift has been out, the world has got very much bigger, and it's about to get much bigger again. This, as you're looking at here, is the initial quest hub of Starfall Prophecy, which is 5 big new zones, another 4 levels for players to adventure through, as well as several new systems that we're introducing this time as well.
And the reason it's empty, of course, this is not out to the public yet. This is a private development server.
That's right. It actually launches next week. But what you're seeing here is our development server, so you're not going to see any other players running around.
Yeah, and we're running on a laptop, but I think that also speaks to what MMOs have to be these days. These are things that can run on a wide variety of machines.
That's right. You're seeing it here with maybe an average sort of look. You can set the settings a lot lower if your machine is not as powerful as this laptop, or you can set them higher if it's a lot more powerful. So.
And so, as an expansion, it's going to be friendly for people who definitely have not played for a long time. Maybe they started out, or who were playing for the first time. You're introducing a immediate level cap rise, right? Or not level cap, but a jump.
Right. If you want to jump straight in and try out the new expansion, you can level yourself to the bottom level of the expansion, which is level 65, so there will be an immediate jump to level 65 if you wish. We work hard in trying to make Rift accessible to people jumping in. It's a challenge in MMOs at the best of times, but we have various things like presets, so that your character is pre-set up with all of the abilities and stuff like that, so you should be able to jump in and start going right away. Yeah.
And thinking about, of course, the other big MMO out there, World of Warcraft. We had BlizzCon not too long ago, and they were also talking about their next patch, the Legion expansion that recently came out. And they're definitely an MMO that's aimed at bringing in new people and continuing to streamline what can be a very complicated process. Is that kind of a route that Rift is going along as well? Is it trying to cater more to that hardcore MMO fan, or?
I mean, MMOs are a really unique type of game, I think. In fact, the fact that there are so many different types of players that play them. You'll have the really hardcore people that want to have an extremely high challenge and will probably gravitate towards the raids and things like that. And then you have the other extreme where they're far more casual. And so all MMOs try, and Rift is absolutely no exception. I think we actually do this really well, which is actually cater to a lot of those different groups. There was stuff here for the really hardcore. We have some seriously hard raids and dungeons. We actually, I know just by reading our forums and various other sources that people like the challenge that we still have in Rift. It's not sort of like completely Melba Toast where you hit a button and bam, I won. There were definitely challenges. But then we also have this amazing stuff for the casual players, like our dimension system, absolutely best-in-class housing. I mean, there is nothing else like it. You can actually, housing is just an understatement, because it's not really housing. You get to have a little slice of the world, and you can decorate it with just literally thousands of different objects. I've seen people actually do scenes from Star Wars and various other movies, just absolutely incredible, the creativity of the players in that particular aspect. As you can see here, we're going through various different wardrobe outfits. Again, just a very robust wardrobe system. It actually becomes a bit of a collecting game. You're trying to collect all of the possible wardrobes. There are various other collecting games. So it caters from the very casual to the pretty hardcore and pretty much everything in between. So always a bit of a challenge, but also really good fun.
So thinking about players who maybe haven't played for a long time, or getting players over who are maybe done with what they've done in World of Warcraft Legion, what is it that's going to draw them over to Starfall Prophecy?
Well, I mean, I think one of the first things is just how incredibly beautiful it looks. I mean, our art team have absolutely outdone themselves. Every time, I seem to find myself saying that a lot whenever we're putting out a new expansion. It's like, wow, our art team did an even better job than they did last time. And they seem to keep notching it up and up and up. So some beautiful areas to explore. You will find a really nice community to be part of that are, for the majority of them, will be very helpful and will help you get into the game and explain things to you. There is again, we've tried to make it very accessible to get in. You can get in at a fairly, sort of scratch the surface sort of level and have a really good, fun time doing some of the quests. But the further you get into Rift, you'll find that it's like an onion in a way. You can, there's more and more things to find. I mean, we have an incredibly deep, what we call the soul system, which is basically your class and how your character plays. You get to mix and match abilities beyond anything I think that people are used to before. In any other games. Again, we give you presets here that make it easy to get into, but once you've got used to that, you can then start delving into the nuances of this and really build up your character to play exactly how you want it to play. We kind of broke the mold in a way. For instance, we have healing mages, tanking rogues, just things that people are not really used to. Those tend to be a little bit more advanced features, but there's also all of the standard stuff there too to sort of get into at first.
I'd assume with an expansion and a new level cap that players are also going to have more abilities for each of their classes to explore.
Right. What we did actually this time is, rather than just add a whole ton more abilities that, just like increasing this is called the soul tree, rather than just adding new abilities to this, what we did is we picked some of the key abilities of each of the souls. Each one of these things is a soul. Some of the more fun ones and iconic ones of that soul, and you, as you go up in the levels, you will get what are called legendary points, and you can then turn one of the abilities that you're used to into a legendary version of that ability. And they are game changers. They are absolutely game changers. They turn your character into just the most powerful, crazy thing. An example might be the rogue here that we're playing. One of the abilities they have is it's called sidesteps. It makes you just almost unhittable for a certain period of time. One of the legendary abilities allows you to recast that instantly again, so you can actually extend that ability out longer, and you can become almost invincible for about 40 seconds or so, and you can do a lot of damage in that time. There are and just generally you will find that it'll change your rotation. You will find that you're playing differently because you have these new legendary abilities. We've been having a heck of a lot of fun around the office just seeing what we can do with these things. It's going to be quite the balancing act, because if anything, they are bordering on game breaking right now, but that is also really good fun. That's what we want, is we want people to feel like, oh my god, I am just completely OP now. What are these crazy people thinking? And it's just really good fun. I can't wait to see what the players come up with, the builds that they come up with, and the things that, oh, nice one, Chris. Yeah, let's fall down that hole. So yes, that's the way players are going to get more powerful in Starfall Prophecy. Yeah. This is the big bad actually. The tower here that you can see is actually sentient and is the sort of like center of the story. And sorry, I interrupted you.
Are you able to respec on the fly?
Well, it depends what you mean by that. You can respec completely. In other words, kind of change my whole soul and start again, and then you can actually save out versions that you like, and you can then switch between those preset builds that you've decided that you like. Yes, not quite on the fly, just anytime you're out of combat, which is next to on the fly. In fact, you will find that, as I was speaking about earlier, some of the hardcore raids, you will find that if you are on a raid, you might find that your raid leader is asking you to at least have 3 or 4 different specs available that you can change into at different points during the raid. So you might not just play the same thing through the entire raid. You might find that you need to, hey, I need everybody to switch over to their DPS spec for this particular fight. I'm going to need the tanks to maybe do a little bit of extra heal in this, things like that. So it
and there's definitely a lot going on. When you introduce the ability to jump straight into the game at not max level, but near that, how are you either reintroducing it to players who haven't played for a long time, or bringing new players up to speed? Is there a tutorial section, or how does that work?
Well, I think that will be done mainly by the quests that you go on, particularly the first zone that you are guided towards, Scathern Forest. That was the kind of like pretty green area we were in earlier. They will definitely ease you into the game. I'm not gonna pretend that jumping in at level 65 is quite going to give you the depth of knowledge about your class that starting at level 1 and working your way up through 65 would. I think that you would find somebody that actually decides, you know what, I'm going to enjoy the full Rift experience and actually start at level 1, of which, there's a lot of great content in there for them to explore doing that. They will probably have a better feel for their character than somebody that jumps in at level 65. But by the time you have played up through the 5 new levels up to level 70, you would probably know your class pretty much as well as anyone else by that point.
What other kinds of new content is Starfall Prophecy introducing?
Well, one of the new things, obviously what players want in an expansion, as well as new areas to explore, and I think just by looking at the visuals that have been going on here, you can see that is absolutely glorious. But there is also, they want new power. We talked a little bit about that with the legendary abilities, but also new stuff, new equipment. And we also kind of like tore up the book with this new feature as well, rather than actually just kind of, hey, look, here's a new breastplate and you need to find the one that's good for the tank, or here's a new pair of boots that's good for a mage. We are actually introducing this time something called Planar fragments. So we moved quite a few of the secondary ability stats off of the equipment that you find. They will still have their base stats, but the secondary stats like blocking or attack power or spell power are now actually put on these things called planar fragments, which you can equip on top of your armor, and these will actually provide you with new stats, and you can then upgrade these. You can break down old ones that you don't like so much into new things that then are used to upgrade the ones that you do like, and you can really start tailoring your equipment to fit the class that you have decided to build. So it puts, rather than having to go and do a raid 400 times hoping that that one breastplate that you've been looking for actually drops, this puts a little bit more of the power into the player's hands to start tailoring any equipment they find towards what they want it to be. There are definitely still some random elements in here. The higher the value of the planar fragment that you find, the higher the rarity, the more stats it's going to have and the more things you can unlock. So there is definitely still that anticipation game of, will I get a good one versus is this just junk I'm going to break down? Is still there. I mean, we don't want to get rid of the fun parts of that sort of like, oh my god, I got something awesome, but we want to be able to say, well, I got something awesome and now I can make it more awesome. It's like, pretty cool.
I think a big thing that you see with some other MMOs when you come up on an expansion is generally new classes or new races to play as. Is that something that the team thought about at all for this Rift expansion?
Not for this one. Actually, the last, we didn't call it an expansion. We have only ever called things that increased level cap expansions. However, I would go as far as saying that the last thing that we put out, which was Plain Touched Wilds, was about as close as you can get to an expansion without being an expansion. It was a huge new zone, there was a whole ton of new stuff, and we actually at that point introduced a new calling, as we called it, which is the fundamental base class, like rogue, mage, warrior, cleric. We introduced the primalist, which was a whole new way of playing. We didn't do that this time. That's not to say that we wouldn't do things like that going forward. There was just, it's like you gotta, when you first start deciding what are you going to put into an expansion, the list is massive and you have only so much time and only so much people to actually do stuff. So you decide what are going to be the core things we want to do, what's going to be the most fun, and that was just one of the things that we decided we'd just done that, let's not do that again for this expansion. One other thing I'll point out here, Chris, as he's rushing around in this world, has aggro turned off, so that's why nothing is attacking him. It's also why everything's not actually running after him and murdering him.
So an MMO is, of course, a living thing almost. It's a game that's constantly changing and constantly growing. What is the roadmap post the expansion? Do you guys have patches lined up or story beats that you're hitting?
Absolutely. I mean, we have stuff mapped out for Rift going far into the future. Obviously, the further into the future you go, the little bit more likely it is to change. But we have stuff that is planned and basically ready to be coming out right after this. Actually, Chris, can you just pull up the map? Just the map a second. So up at the you're not in the world. Never mind. Don't worry about it. So we have a new zone that is basically ready to go that we will be putting out soon after launch. We have a new raid coming soon after launch. We have my personal opus, which is a puzzle dungeon that's going to be coming out after launch. So that's going to be something that's kind of unique to Rift, because a lot of times a raid is about kind of like destroying giant, great big monsters. There's always been this exploration element to Rift. I've played MMOs ever since MMOs were invented, basically, and one of the things I would always do, and I found that many other players do as well, is they will try and get somewhere weird that, it's like I climbed up this freaking mountain that I'm sure I wasn't supposed to do. I bet the developers didn't know I could get here. And then it was like, okay, well, that was good. What am I going to do now? And I guess I'm going to go back down. But what Rift has done is we have various different ways that we actually try and reward the players for doing that kind of thing. We have artifacts that they might find up there on top of that mountain or way down at the bottom of some ocean, and plus puzzles. They might come across some weird little puzzle they have to solve and get some prize for. And what's coming soon is we actually decided we were going to make an entire dungeon of those. So there is a dungeon where you pretty much don't fight anything, you just solve some crazy ass puzzles. And get some really nice prizes out of it that way. The challenge is as long and as rewarding as doing a long raid encounter, but it is for a completely different type of player group. So anyway, that's kind of like a rambling answer to, do we have new stuff planned? Yes, we've got a ton of stuff planned and a ton of wishes and wants and things that we would love to get around to doing, more than probably could get done in a lifetime, but we'll keep going.
For longtime fans, what do you think they'll be most excited about in Starfall Prophecy?
That's such a tough question. That's like asking me to choose my favorite child. I don't know, and I flip-flop on this depending on what I'm doing when I'm playtesting. I tend to have this thing of when I'm playtesting, it's like, this is my favorite feature. But as I said a little bit ago, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what players do with the legendary abilities and the builds they come up with that incorporate some of these new game-changing things. It's going to be really interesting to see. So I think they will love the legendary abilities. I think it's a bit of a longer thing to get into, but I think they will start really enjoying the Planar fragments too, particularly as they start building them up to higher levels and they start having significant effects on their survivability, and I'm sure everybody knows what DPS is. So.
Are there any other big beats you want to hit? We'll cut this up a little bit so that it's
sure.
Smooth. Are there any other big beats you want to hit, or make sure that we have explained?
Well, I mean, I think I've pretty much covered the really big things. I would like to mention, though, that there are, just as we have always done, all of the systems that players are already used to in Rift have all been extended out to accommodate the level 70. Your crafting systems, we didn't even touch on that, but I know that that's another huge group of players that love to craft and do all that kind of stuff. Fishing we have, survival is another sort of crafting ability we have, dimensions I slightly touched on. All of those systems are also extended out and have new things for players to find. So I like to think that we have provided a little bit of something for all of the various groups of players that we have in Rift.
So Rift Starfall Prophecy is coming out next week.
That's right.
What's the specific date?
November 16th.
I wasn't sure whether I was allowed to say. Yes. November 16th.
And is this
that would be
expansion?
Wednesday. It is.
How much does this cost?
There were two versions. The prices I'm a little off, about $29.99 and...
No, I think it's $39. Sorry, $39.
We don't need it. Go to riftgame.com. They are, I think, for what players are going to get, absolutely reasonable. We've got to keep the lights on somehow.
Let me. I'll look at it really quick. So we have
I know the base is $39. Yeah, it's 21. It's $39.59.
$39.59.
$39.59. So 59. What do you know? What you get with the 59?
With the higher one, you get an amazing outfit, you get an amazing mount, you get a title, you get Chris, help me out here. I know there's a bunch more I'm missing.
You get a title, you get an awesome celestial drake, and you get a really cool portrait frame.
Oh, the portrait frame. Okay.
I believe we're using right here, but the dice are in the way. That was an extra life reward.
We'll try that. One more time, just make it kind of a cleaner.
Okay.
Sure.
But hang on though, Chris. So I just make sure I get everything. Then that's okay. That's.
Do you want to talk about the multi-core? Oh yeah, we should hit that too. The tech upgrades.
All right. I'll mention
just
that.
Just briefly. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Rift Starfall Prophecy is coming out next week. I think November 16th.
That's right.
And this is a paid expansion, of course, and it has two different tiers.
That's right. It has the standard edition, as we're calling it, which is, I believe, $39.59, something like that. And then we have the $59 version that gives you a few extra perks, gives you an incredible looking mount, a celestial drake. It gives you this outfit that you can see right here, which for long-time players of Rift, they've been asking for forever, which is the Ashikatari raiment, we call it. Ashikatari is one of the key characters in Rift. And literally, I think since she was introduced way back at launch, people have been asking for this outfit. It gives you a portrait frame. That's another thing that players get to customize on their character. It gives you a title, the Star Lady or Star Lord, and some other things I'm sure I'm forgetting. One other thing you asked that I would like to mention, the other things that we've been continually doing since the launch of Rift is improving the technology. We just recently actually introduced multi-core. Back in the day when Rift launched, multi-core was something that was available. It wasn't sort of like widely used. It wasn't something that we went out the door with. It has become a standard thing on most PCs now, so we went back and retooled the engine to support full multi-core, and just recently, in fact, is still in beta, but is going to go live with this expansion, 64-bit version, so full 64-bit support as well. So, as well as doing all of the fun new content and new monsters and features and systems and things like that, we want to make sure that the foundation of Rift stays current as well. So we continue to work on the technology, a little bit more invisible to players, but benefits all players across the board.
Awesome. Lots of exciting new content. Thanks so much for stopping by and walking us through this, Simon.
You are most welcome.